What were some of the trends that you've seen in Cannes, and how does it compare to what you're seeing in our local market across the continents?
There were many, actually, this year. It was an incredible Cannes, the most diverse it's been in many years, and the representation of different voices, kind of being shown on the greatest platforms was quite phenomenal. I think for me, the one thing that was quite powerful was the brands and agencies doing work that was not only moving the usual sales efforts, but they were also really trying to fight to save a lot of what's happening in their own countries. So if you look at what's happening in Lebanon, if you look at what's happening in India, a lot of work that was out there that was incredibly powerful was work that was saying, yeah, we do want to sell lots of things, but we also do want to help to make our country or our place really, really improve. And I thought that was an amazing insight. And of course, there's a usual conversation around AI, as you would if you're in a Cannes platform. There's definitely all that technology conversation was there, but I think at the center for me was a big conversation about how technology is going to help us create much better livelihoods for people, not just technology for the sake of it. Yeah, that was a big one for me.
On our side, so I was judging the entertainment and music category. And it was very interesting because what I saw emerging from that is what I mentioned earlier, which is everybody's fighting for the attention of Gen Z. And then everybody's using TikTok to try and reach them. So I actually kind of built this picture in my mind, and I'll try and paint it for you. You've got here at the center entertainment, which is gamification, everything, all the subgenres that fit within entertainment. Then you've got a triangle around that circle. At the top, you've got the brand, and the brands were across categories, right? So you had alcohol brands, QSR brands, financial services brands, all of them, all playing now in this entertainment space. Then you had the personality, musician, artist, influencer, etc. And there, I tell you, the most predominant ones were hip-hop artists, and I'm talking about hip-hop across countries. So in the US with brands there, in South America, in Europe, even in the Nordics, etc. It was amazing to kind of hear hip-hop in all of these different languages. And then the technology. And then what was the predominant platform? TikTok, TikTok, TikTok. And then some IG and some YouTube in there, but definitely TikTok. There was some very interesting campaigns and how they played out and were successful. The one that I think stood out quite, predominantly was Rosalia. So I'm not sure how many people are familiar. She's a very big Spanish Latin artist, very big worldwide, actually not so much on the continent here. And she was launching a new album called Motomami. Now, normally in the music world, when there's a kind of formula in how you launch an album, it goes to streaming, you've got a marketing campaign, etc. But for the launch of this particular album, what they decided to do was make it a creative visual experience that premiered on TikTok. Right? So it gave the artist and obviously the label and support team this opportunity to take what is normally just an audio medium and really quite push the boundaries from a creative perspective. And then it gave the platform, TikTok, the opportunity to showcase, obviously attributes that already are embedded in on the platform, but also things that they had been trialing, and it gave them this opportunity to launch that within this campaign. And then obviously all the bigger ancillary stuff that happened around that. But when you looked at the stats in the case study, it was one of the most successful launches that had ever happened for an album, but also the overall campaign as well, what it did for TikTok, what it did for the artists, and also what it did for the streaming platforms. So everybody involved with that was very happy with the results, but I think it really pushed the boundaries in being able to say, you know, whatever we're doing, whatever we're launching, etc., the customers that we're dealing with, we've got to be thinking about that innovation all of the time. And I mean, not everything requires some huge, big idea. We know that, you know. So even if you're thinking about something on a smaller scale, you know, it's really about bringing it back to that customer, the technology, and how you're going to drive your communication. Especially, you know, like in this instance, using entertainment as that driving force here.
I think your experience in music has shown how technology can really disrupt the industry. But you've also said that you feel technology can move the industry forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. I do think that when you look at, especially to my conversation earlier around the fact that when you talk to people that are in industry, we understand what we're trying to do. I think it's actually very clear. But I think when we look at what's happening outside of industry in our own countries, where the consumers are, what's happening around their lives, it's something that we do need to think about. The reason why we're here is about advancing our customers and ensuring that we are serving our customers a lot more. And I think when you look at even just some of the insights, that the Cannes Lions generally have been criticized for many years for just being like a club of all the creatives coming together and having a nice jol in France, because there just wasn't enough of that conversation around bringing people along with showcasing how creativity can make a difference in their lives, i.e. also how technology can make a difference in their lives, to make things simpler for them and to make things much more streamlined in their lives. So I do think that for me this year, there was a huge awakening around, let's not forget the customer. It's not just the creatives in one room having a good time, but it's also about serving them and helping them be better.
You mentioned AI came up a lot at Cannes. Technology was spoken about.
Huge.
In Asia. How is that shaping and having an impact on the creative industry as a whole?
And I mean, the going joke at the end of Cannes this year was, if you hear AI again, you actually need to buy a bottle of rosé for someone, because it was just like, it was AI all the time. But I think, it was qualified, because at the end of it, it was about how AI is going to help make things better for our industry, not necessarily AI for the sake of it. And also the tools that are available.
Do you believe that?
I do believe it, because I do think that sometimes there are key areas that AI has really helped to kind of advance creativity or allow for creativity to thrive. And also to be able to create a solution for a customer that makes sense. The big thing for us is that understanding that AI is a tool, but you can't forget about a good conversation, good insight, human interaction, stuff that in our industry, you can't live without.
Yeah.
I know, I think just to follow on from that, in the music industry, obviously AI was a bit of a jolt, if I can put it that way. And really because it is so threatening to that creative ecosystem. In music, not only do you have the artist, but you have the songwriters, the producers, every single person that contributes to a song or a project needs to be credited, needs to be able to earn income off of the contribution that they've made. And so AI obviously is a big threat to that. Yeah. And so there's been a lot of, grappling with how to integrate it. So it's very encouraging that, YouTube Music, along with UMG, have made these announcements around that, how they are sitting around the boardroom tables and going, okay, as opposed to just saying, well, we're going to fight AI, how is it that we can embed it into the creative process in a way that it enhances the creative process, right? But it also doesn't take away from all the other contributors as well. Yeah. So I think that the intent is there to ensure that it ends up being something quite positive to the industry. And we know that, when something starts to work in one industry, it cascades into others, people take the learnings, etc. So, we're watching that space very closely, like I said, with partners like YouTube Music, like Spotify, etc., to see what ultimately happens, and to ensure that, like I said, contributors aren't the people who are impacted.